So to start this episode with our special guest, we are going to do just a little impression improv because our guest has quite an amazing Jerry Seinfeld impression, and
Yes.
I would I would really regret it if we didn't include it in this episode. So what we're gonna do is let's see, we're about okay. So the four of us, our four characters that we're improving, we're going to the movie theater. Pretend this is not COVID times. The movie theater's open. It's a fucking utopia. And these characters they're going to the movie theater to see Friday the 13th, part 104. Okay. And, okay, so Brandon, who are you going to be impersonating?
Heath Ledger's Joker.
Okay. And Chris, who are you going to be impersonating?
I will be doing an impression of Scooby-Doo.
Okay. And I will be doing my impression of Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron. Okay.
This is a mistake.
Jackson, take us into the scene, will you, with Jerry?
Well, I think we got to see the lady at the counter to get our tickets.
Oh yeah, Jerry, you're kind of right. Well, I don't have any cash on me. Can you buy my ticket?
Yeah. I got a couple 10-20s, my wallet. Yeah, you can borrow
Oh,
a
that's
couple
just
dollars.
great. That's just great. I don't
My
know.
little thing,
Yeah, Scooby, I don't know if they let dogs in the theater, but
That's
What's the deal with the dog in the theater? That's what I'm gonna ask you.
yeah,
I'm gonna walk up to the counter.
can
I'm
just,
gonna walk up to the counter, look me eyes.
Put him down.
What's the name of the dog in the theater?
Joker, I don't know if you should be in here, man. I've seen what happened in. I don't know if you should be
Okay.
Oh my god.
That's it.
I need to get my ticket. It's moonlight.
Yikes.
Brandon, you do a better Joker impression when you're not doing a Joker impression. When you're just talking normally. That was awful.
Thank you. I was trying too hard.
That's one of the meanest insults I've ever heard.
All right. Welcome everyone to Stacked. Welcome everyone to Stacked episode 18, a special episode with a special guest. When we first announced the show, my good buddy Jackson from TooMuchGravy, he reached out and he's like, "Dog, you got to get me on when we're talking about slasher movies." So, in the spirit of the Halloween-athon, we're like, now's a great time to add slashers. So,
You know what
Jackson,
they say? Halloween is upon us.
Halloween is upon us.
3 more days, fellas.
When does that movie comes out in 3 days?
Yeah.
Hubie Halloween does come out on
I'll have
the
to
7th.
sit down and watch that.
Oh man, yeah, I think.
Wait.
I think there's gonna be lots of screenings. Wait, hold. Yeah, so Jackson, you're here on the show. Let's see, how did we meet? We probably just through Jungle Thick, Merlin and Wood Ape, came together. And then we just started vibing, and then and
we were in like 12 different
group chats, and then
and Discord servers.
Yeah, and then I found out that you're into movies, and I know you're a big slasher fan.
Oh yeah.
You play what's the game called? Dead by Daylight.
Dead
right?
by Daylight.
Yeah,
It's a very fun game, but that game plays like a free game.
Oh yeah,
that game sucks. But it's so much fun.
But I'm surprised there's not enough like slasher like AAA video games. I feel like that's a very untapped.
It's just a licensing thing. They tried to do that Friday the 13th one, and it was horrible. It was so bad. It was like it's like borderline unplayable.
Yeah.
Bad game.
Well,
harsh word.
Then game makers, get good and make a good slasher game.
This game has it all. The slasher, the tree, even the lake.
Even the lake. Kids, teenagers, teenage girls, knives, boobies. It's got everything.
Knives. This movie has it all.
Friday the 13th.
All right.
Knife, the tit.
The knife, the tit. Knife in the tit.
Even the man. Yeah, this is a slasher movie.
Good graphics.
This movie's got graphics.
Okay. Let's get into the show. So before we start with our guest and his first pick, let me run down how the show works. So, once a week we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show we will mix and match our 9 or more films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. Boom. That's the show. That's how the game works. So Jackson, take us into your first slasher film in your 3 slasher film stack, will you?
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warrior.
Ooh. All right.
Wow.
There we go.
I got to
tell us about it. Tell us about it. Oh.
I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street fan.
Oh, is that
I love these movies. These movies are incredible. This is an 8-disc set. It goes all the way up to Freddy vs. Jason.
Ooh.
It doesn't include the reboot because the reboot is ass.
Yes. Correct.
But Freddy's Revenge is or no, not Freddy's Revenge. Sorry, Dream Warriors is the first movie that really like leans into how totally ridiculous Freddy Krueger is, and it's just incredible because 1 and 2 are really good. 1 and 2 are classics, and 3 is a classic for like all the wrong reasons. Like everybody loves the real ridiculous like Freddy worm. Like that's in like the first like 15 minutes. You see this huge like flesh worm that is just has Freddy Krueger's face on it, and he's like eating a kid, and then the kid pulls the kid pulls Nancy. No, not Nancy. The kid pulls the lady from the first movie into her dream. Yeah, it's Nancy. Okay, yeah. Nancy Thompson. I was thinking of Nancy Wheeler. She pulls Nancy into her dream, and Nancy's like, "What the hell am I doing here?" And then she sees this flesh worm eating someone she doesn't know with Freddy's face, and she's just like, what the fuck? And it's just so it's like the greatest high ever from there, because you've got a really good kill. It's the kid. Is it the kid that can't talk that he does the marionette to?
The puppet kid?
Yeah, the puppet kid.
Yeah, where he's like on the...
He dangles him from his hand,
like
through his veins and his arms and all that. Legs. Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
it's
shit.
So cool. And then the whole time he's just cheesing it up, like walking this kid down the hallway looking like an idiot. And it's and there's the classic Welcome to Prime Time bitch where he sprouts his head out of a TV and arms and grabs this lady and just shoves it into a TV that's in his chest. The movie's incredible. Yeah. Like it checks all, like it's like the greatest like schlock movie I've ever seen. And I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I should have said before the episode, I actually have not seen too many slasher films, so this is more of an opportunity for me just to learn like what are some of the greats. So my picks are going to be a little like more like different against like what people see as a slasher, but yeah, I've only seen the first Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, and this one sounds insane. So
don't besmirch the Nightmare name with Friday the 13th.
Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, like Friday, compared to it, Friday
the 13th
ass.
is boring.
Yeah,
it's so boring.
It's so overrated.
Yeah, like you said, Jackson. One thing I really like about Dream Warriors is like how it's like probably the first film in the series to like kind of find a nice balance between the ridiculousness of Freddy Krueger, but also the terror and fear that he brings.
Oh yeah,
I think like the first two might like. I mean, I'm sure like some people love it, and I do quite enjoy it myself too. But they were much more like leaning towards that kind of more serious side of.
Yeah, Freddy. They were trying to be serious.
Yeah, and then further down the series, they get a little too stupid with it.
You'll see.
Brandon loves the Power Glove.
But, oh my god,
I love most of them.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's the biggest Nightmare fan I know. So
I'll watch them, and I like them just because. I know they're silly, fun, but they're not good. That's like, I was talking to someone recently about like how like the Halloween season and watching movies, and I was like, yeah, I just bought the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, and so they were like, oh, how many is there? I was like 8 of them, and they're like, how many of them are good? And I was like, there's like 2 of them. And I don't know, I love it. I was very excited to watch Dream Warriors again for this because it had been far too long.
I think Freddy's the most entertaining of all the slasher villains. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
you can never get that dude wrong because he's always just having a good time in the film. Brandon, what do you think of Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
I like it. I think Nightmare on Elm Street was like the main franchise that got me into like slasher movies when I was a kid, because I was afraid of, like, I saw Freddy Krueger's arm stretching like in the alleyway in the first movie.
In the alley in the first movie.
And that terrified me as a kid. And I once I kind of got over my fear of it, it became like my gateway into this world of like creepy slashers, good kills, like stupid characters, sometimes good characters. And Nightmare actually cared a little bit, whereas like Friday the 13th, I was like, it's not good. Like, the kills are boring. The characters suck, and they didn't even try, and that's it. But like at least with Dream Warriors, I feel like that was like an attempt at like actually making a real story with characters, you know? Even the first Nightmare did that a little bit. The second one, it feels a little standalone-ish, and it was meant to be that way if you follow the production stuff behind it. But the third one, it was like, this is like a serialized story that they're telling over the course of this like 6 movies, because the original 6 are like a story. And I like it. I think the kills in it are some of the best in the series, just from the visual effects nature. And I think to this point, Freddy is like still his scary self, because a lot of people talk about the first 3 as like the ones where like he was scary, and he was starting to gain his fun edge because of the tone of Dream Warriors. But after Dream Warriors, it kind of started to switch. So, So yeah, it's a good action movie too, which is weird because I would consider it more of an action horror than like any of the other movies, more in the vein of Aliens, but not as intense. Nobody say they're the same movie, because they're not.
Dream Warriors is very intense. That scene where Lawrence Fishburne gets cut with a scalpel on his arm, and the next scene he's got a little band-aid.
So scary.
Huge. He gets like gouged with a scalpel, and the next scene it's just a little band-aid.
Oh my god, that's awesome. All right, Brandon, take us into your first pick.
Well, funny you should mention Nightmare on Elm Street. I love this franchise, and my favorite one, actually, other than New Nightmare, which I mentioned in our second episode, so we can't use it, is Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master. I adore this movie. I remember hearing the first 3 are pretty much the best, and then I had not heard about New Nightmare or Dream Master at this point, so I had heard that like most slasher sequels are bad, and I walked into this one with very low expectations. And I think that's kind of why it impressed me, because this movie is when it starts to like go back and forth between scary Freddy and then silly Freddy, because this one has a bunch of one-liners, it has really good visual gags, and I think the kills in this one are the best kills in the entire franchise. Oh, he's giving me
is 4 the one where the lady is like working out and she turns into a bug, or is that 5?
That's 4.
Okay. That kill haunted
I know
me
what
as a
you mean.
kid.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good one. That one's
excellent.
Yeah.
There's the one where he like sucks all the air out of her. That one, which is good. The waterbed kill is in this one, which is one of my favorites. I'm sad because they kill off one of my favorite characters from Dream Warriors really early on in this movie, and he didn't deserve it. But again, this is another continuation of Dream Warriors, and although they recast Patricia Arquette with Tuesday Night, I think she does a good enough job for the amount of time she's in the film. And the new character that they have is really a feminine badass. And you really don't see that in most 80s horror, because in most 80s horror, they're the final girl that like walks around all like, and then at the last moment gets the kill, like, luckily. But whereas this girl, I believe Tuesday Night could kick or not Tuesday Night, the other girl who plays Alice in this movie can kick Freddy's ass, and it's fun, and it's creepy, and the visuals are really awesome. I just really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember, like I said, I like them all just because they're enjoyable. But I have to I have to agree. That one's got some really good kills. The bug one's always stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's so weird and creepy.
It's like Cronenberg.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It's very body horror. It's awesome.
That's sick. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, like again, kind of like this is kind of, I think, for many people, or at least us, like kind of where Nightmare was like in its quote unquote prime era. I think like Nightmare 3 and 4 are kind of like where they really found their stride. And like you said, Brandon, a lot of like these slasher sequels can get very stale with their continuing sequels. But I feel like this is one of the few that kind of like, oh, okay, we're in the groove, we figured it out, and like we're gonna roll with this concept and really go with it. Unfortunately, yes, the series does kind of decline as we go a little bit, especially by Freddy's Dead, which I know Brandon hates with a passion.
I hate them.
Yeah. Revitalized by New Nightmare, and then kind of stomped back into the grave by the remake, even though I do give it some points for a couple little things they do. But other than that, I'm kind of looking forward to like, the Nightmare series being rebooted, and hopefully they kind of recapture the energy that 3 and 4 had. And yeah, I think these are both really great picks, and these are very quintessential slasher films, like, and they're like some of the strongest in my opinion as well.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, so
Are they doing a reboot?
There's rumors going around, and there's rumors Robert Englund might come back.
Good.
I heard that
Awesome.
He's old though.
he is old.
Yeah.
That's why they got to get somebody that's not Jackie
Freddy.
Early Haley.
Freddy in a wheelchair.
That'd be pretty funny. Actually.
Freddy is literally dead.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy is literally dead.
Freddy is almost dead. He's getting there.
It's just gonna be called Freddy Krueger 1 foot in the grave.
So Platinum Dunes, which is Michael Bay's production company, had the rights to all the major slasher, and then they lost them when the remakes that they made failed at the box office. And
that's right, yeah.
So 10 years later now they've reverted back to Wes Craven's estate, and his family is like basically saying like, here's like whoever wants to do something, pitch it to us and we might do it.
Interesting.
That would be sick.
That's
Okay.
what's up with that.
Chris, let's go into your first pick.
Okay, well, I'm gonna switch us into this isn't gonna be the most exciting pick, but I do think it's worth mentioning because quintessential slasher. I promise my 2 following films are going to be a lot more exciting to talk about, but I do think this one's still kind of fun. It is kind of like one of, if not the most film school movie you could think of. 1960, Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho. Now, I knew Brandon would roll his eyes at that. I know this is not Brandon's favorite movie, even though I know in your heart you like it at least a little bit. But okay, how do I capture this movie? So it's a film about this young woman who runs away from her from her life in the city and finds herself in this motel just in the outskirts of wherever it is she is, and she meets this young man named Norman Bates. Now that's pretty much all you need to know for like the general plot of the film. But I think what makes this movie a quote-unquote quintessential slasher film, at least for me, is that like it's, for me, the first one that I ever saw that kind of started this kind of, okay, like who is this mystery killer? Like let's see these kills and all this, like the gore and all that, especially for the time, as we all know, was hugely innovative for the industry. And yeah, I mean, like, you can go, watching movies and like talking about it without somehow bumping into someone and having a conversation about Hitchcock and especially Psycho. Right. It's very much the quintessential slasher film, even if it's not the most well done or exciting one, especially by today's definition of what a slasher film is. Brandon, stop looking at me like that, I swear to God.
But I'm furious.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Ethan. I think Ethan's a big fan of Psycho. So
yeah.
What do you think?
So before we started the podcast, I was actually telling you two that I had one film on this list that I took off because I didn't know if I could put up a good case saying that it is a slasher, and it was Psycho. But because I was reading through, like, I was going through Wikipedia and what exactly is a slasher film, and it said this one's a great influence on it. But Chris, I do agree with you. I think I would consider this a slasher, just in the fact that, like, the themes of the killer going against people who were seen as unfaithful against society at the time, you know? Like, you have that insane twist that, like, it's super iconic where the main lady gets killed at the very beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a great film. Just the cinematography in this film is great. The pacing, I think it holds up for like something that's a bit more on the classic cinema side, you know, old Hollywood. Like it's still, you can still feel its influences in all these slasher films we're going to be talking about today, you know? And yeah, I'm a fan. What about you, Jackson?
I have actually never seen Psycho, but
really,
from what I know about it, I know it's had its influence in the slasher subgenre, just because it's an iconic movie. From what I know about it, I definitely wouldn't say it's like a traditional slasher, but I mean, yeah, it's a slasher. But I mean, if you look, it's impossible to see, like, even I'll talk about that in my next one, but its influence is all over the place.
Right.
You can see it even today, and even just in references, it's still being referenced, just because it's such an iconic movie. And I think the only thing I actually know about Psycho is that it was the first movie to show a toilet.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's the first movie to show a flushing toilet, I think.
Well, stay tuned for Toilets in Cinema Stacked. That's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks or so. So
I can't be a part of that. I can't.
No, I'm sorry. You're already. I've already attached you as the guest, so you're required.
I don't know about toilets, man. You want to talk about electric in cinema? I can do that.
All right.
I'll do electricity in cinema.
Sick. All right, Brandon. You've been making that face since Chris opened his mouth.
Brandon's pissed.
All right, unload, man. Go for it.
Let's hear it.
Iconic doesn't mean good.
I didn't say it's necessarily good. I said quintessential. Fuck you,
Listen.
Brandon.
Shush. You said let Brandon speak. I didn't say,
all right.
Interrupt Brandon right away. You're not President Trump during the debates, you motherfucker. Okay.
Damn.
Okay. Here's the thing about Psycho. I don't think it's a slasher movie. Like, yes, people get killed in the movie, but it's not. It's more of like a serial killer movie, not like a insane person doing this thing because he has a reason to. And sometimes there are no motives in slasher movies, which is great. But also, I don't care in this movie. Like, at least in the Nightmare movies, I have fun. And in, like, the kills are good. And, like, the characters are fun. But in Psycho, who gives a shit about the plot in that movie? It doesn't live up. It's one of Hitchcock's most overrated movies. It's not a bad movie. I think it's good. I'm just trying to communicate to you that this movie does not belong here.
Wow, table slap.
Jesus, Brandon, calm down.
You don't simply just don't care about like the characters, the plot. You just simply don't care. You don't care.
Yeah, you didn't even say like I didn't relate to this. I didn't find any relatable. You were just like I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Fuck you, Norman Bates.
It's like kind of like I don't like the humans in the movie. Like they're not like they're so flat and uninteresting in my opinion. Like I don't care about Norman Bates and there's no tension. Like for me, when I watch that movie, and I think it improves when you watch it on the big screen, but when I still don't think it's that great. I think the cinematography is good, and it's set in Arizona. That's cool.
Yeah, hometown. There you go.
Hometown movies.
That's not enough for you.
I was like,
all right.
Fucking okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I just don't think it's the best that slashers have to offer. If I'm being completely honest, Chris.
Well, I know that it's not like the top tier slasher content, but I did want to acknowledge it just because as I think even Brandon, even though I know you don't like this movie as much as most people, like you can still understand how significant this movie was in terms of the industry as a whole, and in particular the subgenre that is slasher.
I definitely recognize the movie's appeal.
Yes,
and
I think that's
I can understand it. It's just it's not a movie that I'm because I know a lot of people who love that movie and love to watch it, but for me it's I watched it once, and then I was forced to watch it again for class, and that's it. That's probably all I'm gonna do.
Forced.
No, yeah, and
you were forced.
I feel that you're a big North by Northwest.
I love
Hitchcock
Hitchcock.
person, right?
I love
That's
Hitchcock.
my favorite Hitchcock. Too.
It's so
Mine's
fucking
real-
good.
Mine's Rear Window.
Rear Windows
Oh, yeah.
also.
That one's great too. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys all like film students?
We are all film studies majors.
Oh,
So
God. I dropped out of college.
We
I'm an
apologize.
electrician.
you're an electrician.
I'm an electrician.
That's good. We want a diverse
Coalition.
coalition of people, different jobs. You know, this is great.
I like movies.
Yeah.
There you go.
I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah.
That's all you need to be on this show, Jackson. So we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
All right,
glad to be here.
let's do my first pick. So
If it's Ant-Man, I'm leaving.
it's. I mean, there's pointy objects
the
that
fuck
slashes people.
Shut the
I'm just
fuck
kidding.
I'm gonna slash
No. So, I think over like last year or something, or I tried to go through all like the first installments of all like the big classic slasher franchises. And for my first pick, I'm choosing my favorite one, which is it's a 1974 film. And we talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit on Ghost episodes because it's a similar director, Tobe Hooper. That's 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now this movie, like, Brandon, you talked about how it feels dated.
Yeah.
There we go.
No. This movie is a classic.
It's a classic.
Beautiful. Cream of the crop.
Yeah. It's such a disorienting movie to watch.
Yes.
Like, this is one of the good cases we talked about in the War of the Worlds, where like we didn't like the overexposure of the cinematography in the beginning of that film, but there's a lot of shots where everything's really overexposed and the camera quality is really poor, so it kind of feels like a home movie, you know, from the 70s. But like I feel like the way that's aged, its cinematography and like the feel of everything, it's just like it's a super eerie film, but it still takes place during the daytime, which is like that's a crazy thing to accomplish in the first place. And I think all those aspects, like having it make it seem like a relic, you know, makes it timeless in that sense, you know. Jackson, you're a big fan of this. What do you think of Texas Chainsaw?
Oh, absolutely. This movie is incredible. It's one of the big four, like, you know, main slasher series. And like all the other slasher series, like, you know, the first one's usually the best, and then they sort of go downhill from there.
Right.
It's such a great movie. So many iconic scenes and lines and everything. Like you've got the flashbulb sound effect that the whole fucking series tried to ride on.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I really like this movie. I actually watched it not long ago. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I just wanted to watch it. It's just really, it's the only one that's like the only slasher that I've ever really seen that was like scary and kind of still is to this day for me. Because like with Nightmare on Elm Street, like when I was very little and I watched that was scary because I'm like 8 and I'm like, that's real and that's in my brain. But I mean, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's like, I'm from a very rural area, and like that could just happen to me one day. Like I could get picked up by a cannibal family because there probably are some in the mountains I live.
Right.
I don't want to say it's like grounded in reality as much because it's grounded enough to where it can get away with being a little over the top here and there. But it just feels real. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
It's I love it. It's incredible.
It's super grounded, and like I think you hit the nail on the head. Where like this is like one of the only ones that actually feels scary. Where slashers are usually just entertaining films that have horror elements, but like this one like is the only one that's like legitimately scared me. Brandon, you're shaking your head. What do you want?
I don't think this movie is scary.
Well, you don't think anything's scary.
I'm brave, I guess. I don't know.
I'm brave. Ooh, I'm
brave. You fucking weirdo.
I guess if I lived in a rural area and I could relate
Mesa,
to that.
Arizona.
Yeah, I live in suburbia where there are 500,000 people that I've grown up around, so I've never really had a fear of being caught by cannibals because I knew somebody would see.
I live in West Virginia.
Oh, well then, yeah.
That's all you need to
You're
know.
in the Appalachia, huh?
Yeah, this and Wrong Turn are like my backyard.
I live in the complete opposite biome to Jackson. I live in a dense ass city.
In Hong Kong?
Yeah, this fucking dense city of Hong Kong.
Ethan and I live in.
Do you live in Hong Kong?
Well, I'm in Orange for college, but I'm born and raised in Hong Kong.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Stacks worldwide, baby.
Yeah.
You guys are what? Are you all in California, Orange, California?
At the moment,
Yeah.
Or is it just you two? Okay.
We're all based there right now. Yeah, I have a cabin down in like the rural parts of Utah, so like going like those when they're driving down the highway and stuff like that felt very on point for me as well. And like,
you ever been to Ohio? That's like most of the roads in Ohio.
I know.
It's
Brandon, sorry, we interrupted you. Continue.
Oh yeah, I feel bad.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't like the look of it personally. I have the 4K remaster because I got it before I watched it. I bought it on a blind buy, and I don't really like the look. I do like the like unsettling tone and like the fact that they kind of play with the is it real, is it not real kind of thing, kind of like Blair Witch did 20 years later. But personally, like, it didn't really capture my attention when I first watched it. And maybe I need to give it a rewatch, but I do think it could benefit from that. But at the same time, I don't think it's any more than a trendsetter. Like, if I was to pick the quintessential, like, the first slasher movie, it would probably be that one. That one or Halloween. I don't remember which came first.
This one did.
This one came first. Halloween was okay, yeah.
Yeah, 78. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, this would be.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat to Ethan in the sense that, like, I think, like, Ethan, Jackson, you guys said you guys found this particularly frightening to you guys because you guys, at least to some extent, live in areas where it kind of resembles the look of this movie in terms of, like, wide open rural areas. But I'm the complete opposite, as we discussed earlier. But for me, that also makes it even more terrifying because it's such a foreign look to me. And, like, you know, as we said, like that very like dank, scummy, putrid, like, you know, way they capture the images in this film, and like the celluloid is so textured and so full of like gunk. I don't know how else to put it, but there's something about this movie that's just so fucking like
gross,
like, uncomfortably
it's
gross.
dirty.
Yeah, exactly. It's just dirty.
It is
like,
very gross.
As
it
you
feels. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, I was just saying, like, as you move forward in the series, like the reboots and all that, like there's a billion of them, and like Leatherface, of course, becomes like an iconic piece of horror imagery. And like, I forgot if it's the second or third one, but did you guys know Matthew McConaughey was in one of these?
What?
Yeah, he was in. I think he was in the fourth one.
Ethan,
the fourth or fifth one.
Ethan, I'm gonna send you a sound effect that.
Voicemail.
A sound effect that Matthew McConaughey a voice. What the fuck? I'm gonna send you something, a line from McConaughey,
a clip from the movie,
a clip from the movie that has Matthew McConaughey's line, and I'm also gonna play it here right now. But maybe you can overlay it so the quality's better.
Yeah, we'll overlay it.
But this is Matthew McConaughey screaming, jumping out of a window. That's Matthew McConaughey, Oscar-winning Matthew McConaughey.
Wow.
But you know, like, yeah, I agree. I like, this is a great entry into like the big like terror that is slasher films to come. Yeah.
All right. Sick. All right, Jackson.
Yeah.
Take us into your second pick.
Oh, is it me again?
Yep.
I'm gonna go very stereotypical here and say the original Halloween.
Boom.
Because
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just, I mean, there's no getting around it. It's just it's a classic. I mean, Michael Myers became one of the most iconic slashers in cinema history, just because he was just scary. And I mean, it's not, I don't really find it scary anymore because I'm older, but I could definitely see myself watching this when I was young, getting very scared, because there's a lot of little kids in this movie.
Right.
There's like the whole thing's like, what was it? She was babysitting a kid, and then she just sort of like dumped him on another babysitter.
Right.
And it's not often you see little kids in movies where people are dying a lot. And there's a lot of really awesome kills in this movie. Like the one where he gets pinned to the wall with a fucking not a butcher knife, a kitchen knife. That was awesome. And of course there's just the scene where he's punching through the what's it called? Where you keep your coats. Not cabinet. Oh,
like
closet.
God. Closet. He's punching through like the slat doors on the closet.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah.
the knife in his hand. That's awesome. It's just, I don't know. I don't talk so good.
No, you're good. You're good.
I just love it. It's awesome, and I rewatch it most Halloweens.
Yeah, man.
Kick ass.
It's like John Carpenter. Let me just say that.
Well,
Two
yeah,
words, John Carpenter. He is such an atmospheric director, that just works so well for this movie. Like the shots and the score, John Carpenter's score for Halloween's iconic,
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite scenes in this movie are just like when Michael Myers just like walking down the street, and like going to other people's houses and stuff like that. It's insane that like just like the duality of, I don't know, just innocent holiday like Halloween, the kids around, and then like this murderous entity, that just goes. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, what do you think?
I like this movie. I remember this is more up my alley. It's suburbia, so like this kind of felt scary to me, and I think it is like kind of scary that he just blends in on the holiday of Halloween because he's wearing a mask. And the reason why I think this movie has lived up is because of like Jamie Lee Curtis's performance,
Right.
as well as the fact that I think the silence of Michael Myers is kind of like permeates the scene, whereas like Jason and Friday makes a lot of noise and Freddy talks a lot. So like and Leatherface, he has the chainsaw, which you can hear him coming, But in this, it's
he'll groan and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like with Michael, it's completely silent, which is more terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, I do think I don't like where they're going with the character with his reboot, because I don't like that like they're trying to do the thing that they did with Nightmare, and the fact that like they'll have the side characters be all funny, and then like Michael be this dominating horror force, because it's a tonal clash, I remember you and I saw the remake in Dolby
Dolby, baby,
2 years ago, and we were like,
yeah.
I was not too big on it, but I don't another thing that I sometimes don't like about slasher villains is how OP they are in terms of like with Leatherface and like Freddy, they have like a way to defeat them or get to like this point, but like with Michael Myers and with Jason, it's like they're not gonna die, and it sucks.
Right.
It's not satisfying.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I think you guys like covered pretty much all the bases when it comes to like, it comes to talking about the Halloween movies. Like, I don't know if there's much more for me to contribute to this conversation. Like, because honestly, I've only ever seen the original. I've never seen any of the other sequels, nor that reboot, or soft reboot. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I mean, like
after 4,
the first one
is gone.
Okay,
everything after the first one. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
It's everything after the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they just did the ones with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Everything after the first one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's a very quintessential like Halloween film. Like, this is inseparable from the discussion of what, how the Halloween season is. Like, you always are, if you're thinking of watching a movie during the Halloween season, this movie is always in the mix. And that's because, like, of course, it's set during Halloween. The title, the title, but yeah, I mean, Michael Myers, I mean, like, that character has been such a staple in our culture, and like, I can't imagine going a Halloween season without at least revisiting clips from this movie. Like, it's so, like, yeah, of course, Halloween. Like, why not? Bang, like, that's Halloween season.
The theme pulls you in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a badass.
She's such a badass. That's right. All right, Brandon, take us into your second pick.
2017's The Babysitter.
Are you kidding me?
You did not.
Yeah,
we watched that.
I hate that.
Okay.
There's one, King, you know it's bad when King Bobby, whatever, is the best part of the movie.
My next one is pretty iconic. I love Wes Craven. You should love Wes Craven because he's done the best slasher movies. 1996's Scream.
Hey, double stack.
Woo! Double stack. Hey, yeah.
I was gonna go get my Scream mask and put it on, but it's locked in my closet.
You don't want to go in there. We don't know what's in there.
Michael Myers.
There's ghosts and dude.
Don't even.
Probably.
All right, tell us about Scream.
The thing that's so great about Scream is it's subversive, and everybody knows it. Everybody who's seen the movie knows it. It comments on the idea of slasher movies in the opening scene with the killer basically quizzing the main girl who's played by Drew Barrymore in the film. Well, not in the whole movie, but in that one scene. And just, you know, when you do that, you set the expectations of what a horror film is, and you flip it on its head. And the best part is this film comments on it in a way that's both funny, but also is allowed to keep it scary, and then flips tropes on their heads that you wouldn't expect them to. Like stuff about certain characters being cannon fodder for kills, or traits of like the dumb bimbo and like the smart athletic teenager, and like all of those, they're not like as simple as like Friday the 13th makes them out to be. You know, I know we already picked another sort of slasher subversive in one of our previous stacks. It was for twist movies, The Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah.
What that movie did with plot, this movie does with character and with tone, and I really appreciate that. This movie's really fun. You care about the characters and their story. The kills are genuinely fun, and I love the twist at the end of this movie. I didn't see it coming when I first saw it, and I adore it.
All right, Chris, it's double stack.
So kind of in the similar boat with Brandon, I really adore this movie. I think like Brian said, this kind of was like Cabin in the Woods before Cabin in the Woods. The way it flips things on its head, at least for our generation, I mean, I can't really speak for everyone, but at least for me, like, I wasn't cognizant of a lot of these tropes because this movie was kind of mixed in with all the other slasher films at the time. So I never really like noticed a lot of these tropes until Scream addressed them. So, you know, they were really like, it was such like a interesting movie to me because it was like making fun of that filmmaking process, still being a part of it, but being the Joker in that bunch. Joker. But yeah, I mean, like, it's such a
nice
great,
Joker
like,
reference, dude.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. That's one of my favorite movies.
I don't know why I did that.
That's his Joker laugh.
Yeah, it's not
He brings it out occasionally.
It's really awkward when that happens.
Sorry, really scary.
Chris, go.
Yeah, but it's so much fun. The twist at the end, as Brian said, is fantastic. A little funny tidbit about the story. I don't think I've ever told you this, and I think Brian's gonna laugh. So when I was a kid, I had no idea that that Scream and the first Scary Movie were two different movies. I thought they were the exact same movie, so I was terrified to watch either of them.
They remade it.
I was terrified of the Wayans brothers for a while.
Chris,
but yeah, fantastic movie. I love it.
That's great. It's great. Jackson, you got a Ghostface. Are you a Scream fan?
Yes, I was dressed up as Ghostface for last Halloween.
Nice.
Scream's awesome. You know, they've already pretty much said everything. It's making fun of, very lightheartedly making fun of the slasher genre, while still being and not going too far with it. to the point where it's like straight up a parody, like Scary Movie, but going far enough where it's still a very good mix of, this is comedic and still staying true to the genre. Yeah, it's great.
I think the sequels are good too. Except for 3. 3 sucks, in my opinion.
2's good. 3 is not great. The TV show was boring.
Did you see 4?
I don't think I've seen.
You gotta check that one out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys showed me Scream for the first time, I think around last Halloween.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fun. I think you hit the nail on the head, Jackson, where it's like they're making fun of it, but it seems more like a celebration than like really a parody, a celebration of the genre. And I mean, who better to do it than Wes Craven, So
yeah, the man himself.
And Wes Craven, yeah.
Great pick. All right, so let's go to my second pick. And Jackson, I'll be so surprised. You'll get a gold stack star if you've seen this movie. Brandon hasn't seen it. Chris, we saw it together for the very first time in our horror class the aforementioned horror class that we always talk about in this show.
No.
Yeah.
It's this is just like a slasher film that's just so fun as fuck. It's super underrated. I want everyone to check this movie out. It's called Blood Diner.
Yeah.
Directed by Jackie Kong.
Yes, I gotta tell you about the DP, but yes,
Haven't
please do.
seen
Yes.
Talk about it.
So
Blood Diner.
the plot of this movie is there is a cult.
Try and explain this shit.
Okay, I'll do it as fast as I can. So there's a cult that that worships this god. What is it? What is her name? Sheetar. Her name's Sheetar. And so you go back into the 50s where this guy is trying to revive Sheetar, but he fails. And the cops catch him and they shoot him to smithereens. And then he relies on his 2 nephews in the 80s to bring him back to life and do this ritual by killing like virgin women and stitching their body parts together to recreate the image of Sheetar for like this moon cycle and stuff. So what these two brothers do is they open a vegan restaurant to attract all these women, and it's just and sometimes it's so funny that one of the brothers like this really insane dude who like does all the cooking, and he's like always watching wrestling and shit while he's cooking, and there's just food flying everywhere. And usually they're not even cooking vegan stuff and they're serving it and they're like, wow, this is really good. What's the guy, Vitamin C? There's this really fat dude who always sits at the counter. He's like, well, my name's Vitamin C and I love this stuff. And he's just like always eating it. And like sometimes he pukes and stuff like that. But
yay.
So yeah, they revive his uncle, but the uncle is just eyeballs and a brain in a jar. And
yeah. Do you want to do the line? I fucking dare you.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. But Chris and I saw this with the director of the movie, Jackie Kong. And the DP, which is a professor at our school. Mm-hmm. But she revealed after the movie that the brain, like the actors played off the brain with a script that's like the brain was like very intelligent and like serious the whole time. So the actors were playing off that, but in post they re-recorded it where the brain just like, what the fuck are you two fucking, oh my god, my fucking nephews, you fucking homos. He keeps calling them homos and shit. It's just like, what is happening? But it's just, it's quintessential 80s B movie. Like you can tell it's on a budget. Like the director revealed that like, most of the actors are just like kids that they picked up off the street on Hollywood Boulevard and stuff like that. And they housed them in like a warehouse where they filmed the final sequence. And it's just like, it is a blast to watch. Mm-hmm. I bought it on Blu-ray. Like the reason why she also came is she was advertising like the big remaster Blu-ray. And I immediately after the class, I bought it. So I can watch it with my friends for Halloweens to come.
Yeah.
You haven't watched it with me
film.
Yet.
Well, we're going to, motherfucker.
It's Halloween season.
This month, we're going to do it.
We're going to do a commentary track.
Halloween-athon.
We could do a commentary. But Jackson, I encourage you to check this movie out too, because it's
absolutely
great.
This sounds awesome.
I'm so happy you brought this up, Ethan. And like, dude, like so the cinematography professor, the DP who shot this film, he's my cine professor for and I've known him for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And man, he's the coolest, nicest guy, the sweetest man. He's like this like 70-year-old Polish man. and he's like talking, and like he's the nicest guy. I'm not kidding. If I invite him to watch the movie with us, he would come.
Oh my god!
Like, and yeah, Jörg Walther is like a legend amongst like the Dodge community, and like he's so nice. But yeah, this is such a fun movie. Like you said, Ethan, it's like B movie bullshit, but like it owns it and fucking runs with it. And like, yeah, it's not like, you know, quote unquote quality cinema or anything like that, but it's still like so much fun and energetic, and like it has that kind of like blissful, naive ignorance that like you kind of search for in like a cheesy film like this. And yeah, I mean, like, not much else to say beyond like it's so much fun. Ethan, there was a scene where you and I were dying in the theater when like this guy was getting run. Basically, there's a guy, he's getting run over, but he got run over by a van, but he won't die.
But he keeps. Yeah,
so then the van just keeps backing up and going forward, backing up, going forward, backing up.
The sequence like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes long, and the shots are the exact same shots. They don't change like setups at all. And like, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's so much fun, and like highly recommend to check it out.
And the director was such a badass when she came. She's like this little old lady in like this like biker gear, like red leather coat. She's like, yeah, I made this movie. It's like, yeah, I fucking love this chick. She was awesome. Yeah. So Brandon, we're watching that, and Jackson, I'm telling you, man, you'll have a great time if you watch it. All right. Absolutely. Let's get into the final round here. Our final stacks, or our final picks.
Ding ding.
Jackson, take us into your final slasher film.
Oh, it's me. I'm gonna say The Strangers.
Oh shit!
Never seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty good, Brandon.
Oh, that's very good. It's very good. I think it's 2007. It's very good. It's very simple. It's a very simple setup. It's I think it's this couple, and they were set to be engaged. This guy was clearly going to propose to this girl. And she says no. And the movie starts out, they're going to this little cabin for a little getaway. I think it was after a wedding. And the mood right out of the gate is very awkward and sort of somber, because like, I don't know if you've ever proposed to someone and they say no, but it's a little tense afterwards.
Right.
That's not exactly the most like, oh yeah, let's go get a drink after this. It's very weird, and the whole time, I like horror movies where like the scares are like subtle and like in the background. Like I don't know if you saw like Annabelle 3, Annabelle Comes Home. Not a great movie. not a great movie, but there's a lot of like background stuff. It's interesting. I like seeing things that just like you know what's happening. I think it's called dramatic irony. It's like, you know what's happening, but the characters don't know what's happening.
That's correct.
And there's a lot of that. There's a really good scene of that in this, where there's just like the killer is this dude. There's 3 people. The killers are 3 people, and they're stalking these 2 little people, not little people, these 2 people in this house.
Yeah.
Like for most of the movie, and it's very just tense, and this whole stalker, and it culminates into this big ending scene where they're just stabbing the shit out of this one girl, and this dude shoots his friend with a shotgun on accident in the face. Oh. It's actually Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He shoots Glenn Howerton in the face with it's Dennis. He shoots Dennis in the face with a shotgun.
That's hilarious.
Yes. It was very weird to see him in that after watching him be in It's Always Sunny. But it's just it underplays itself, and I like that a lot, because a lot of times with horror movies you'll get these, like, especially with like, yes, they're very like big, and they're like, oh, look at this scare and this scare and this scare, and you're like, okay, well, fucking calm down. Like, I'm trying to think of a movie that does that. I'm like the It movies that came out, like especially It 2 was like just so over the top that it wasn't even good. It 2 was bad.
No.
And it's just, it plays, it
Brandon's a big fan.
Do you like It 2? Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm the only one.
He's the only one in our group. We all saw it.
The first one was good.
We all saw It 2, like the premiere, and with a big group, and all of us were like, "What the fuck?" And Brandon's like, "I love that movie." And we're like, "What?"
That movie is like it's like an hour too long.
Yeah.
I won't get into it. But like you look at a movie like that, and then you look at a movie like Strangers, and it's just like two totally opposite movies, but they're still in the same big genre, and it's just cool to see the other side of the coin every now and again. And I think that's probably one of my favorite ones. Strangers 2 is okay. It came out like 11 years later and had no reason to come out other than they tried to 80s nostalgia, but they didn't. The first one had nothing to do with the 80s, and it was I don't know,
crazy.
That's a whole different. That's a conversation for another day.
All right, I've never heard of this movie.
But yeah, my last pick has to be Strangers.
Wow, I'm surprised you haven't even heard of this, Ethan.
I've heard.
No, I've never heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Chris, you've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Tell us about it. Like, what do you think?
I mean, like, this is one thing that I really give this movie props for. I'm not gonna spoil it, but the ending, pretty bold move at the ending, and like the fucking, the thing I love most about this movie is like, how do I put it? I saw this movie maybe like in like 2015-ish, and I had saw it right after watching the first Purge movie. Not first Purge, The Purge. The first one, The Purge. And it's kind of like a good The Purge. I just think like, home invasion can be something that's very like, it can be very cheesy or it can be terrifying. And the way that The Strangers does it is so terrifying. Like an ominous line like, "I'll see you later." The way it lingers on moments is so well done. And like, they did a sequel, I think, in our freshman year. I didn't see it. It's called Strangers Prey at Night. Apparently it wasn't very good. It tried to go a little too off the wall. It didn't keep it as self-contained as as you would hope. But no, I think The Strangers is a fantastic film, and like the masks that the killers wear in this film are like, wow.
Yeah, they're pretty creepy looking.
Pretty creepy.
I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're especially the main guy.
Yeah, that little
love
bag.
That mask.
I like
it. Just the burlap sack with the sack.
It's good.
It's the burlap sack. You plant it, you'll have a burlap tree.
Burlap fashion is back.
Yes.
It is.
So you haven't seen this movie, Brandon? I see it's on your watch list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've been
well, maybe we should check it out. You and me, bud. For first time reaction sometimes. This sounds really interesting.
Okay.
All right. Brandon, take us in your last pick, bro.
All right. Before I say my last pick, I want to give an honorable mention to a film that almost made it on the list, Black Christmas. Not the remake, but the old
original
one. Yeah.
That
very
movie's
good movie.
Gas. It's pretty good.
It is gas. Don't say ass, it's gas.
That movie is gas.
But my number one slasher movie of all time, I actually watched for the first time this year. Oh. I've been pretty hyped about this movie for a while. It's 1992's Candyman.
Right.
Yeah.
Had no idea what this movie was going to be when I watched it. I knew people considered it a slasher movie. I love Tony Todd, and he's in the Final Destination movies. So that was like a good, so I was like, yeah, I'm attracted to the idea of this movie. There's a remake coming out soon. Now it's been pushed back for like a year, but I'm going to check it out. And I watched it this summer, and honestly, I can say this is probably the most intellectual slasher there is, because mostly with slashers, it's about the kills, and about the main evil monster. But this movie, it's so much more about the characters and the situation they find themselves in, because it's like psychological with the way it plays with the film's main character, played by the woman from Sideways. What's her name, Ethan? Do you know?
Virginia
Madsen. Yeah. And she is fantastic in this. It's her going through grief. It's about race and about how we can kind of be locked into our communities no matter what, and how revenge kind of takes its form based on like urban legend and myth that what might happen to you. And like, it's a terrifying movie because it's so realistic. It plays with your mind. The villain is very scary, and like the B horror in this movie is so good, guys. It's so good. I just love it.
the bee horror, like bee movie, or like bees? Because there's a lot of bees in this movie.
The bees, like Wicker Man, like Wicker Man, but
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, I checked this movie out too, like this year. Because the new one coming out, I don't know when it's gonna come out because COVID, it's being pushed back, release dates and everything. But it looks interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the social commentary that's going on in this film it blew me away when I first watched it, and I think the slasher elements are actually is like what took away the experience for me. I wasn't really a fan that it was doing like this, like I don't know, this kind of story, but then throwing in that stuff too. It just made it seem like, I don't know, just uneven to me, I think. But Tony Todd has a great performance in this movie as the Candyman. It's like, this one's also pretty scary, just like the imagery, I'd say, and it's very good psychological horror.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie. I mean, like, Brandon, I was really surprised when I saw like how highly you rated it, because like it was such a when I saw the poster, I was like, oh, this doesn't look very good. But then you gave it 5 stars, and you ranked it higher than Parasite, which is like, that's got to be
top 4.
Yeah, it's in your top 4 now, and those are hard to break top 4s. So like, I was intrigued as hell when I saw this movie, and like I clicked on the Letterboxd page, and like, yeah, the image, like that one image of, I think that's Tony Todd just kind of standing there, like it doesn't look like, it's like, oh wow, like okay, what the hell? But like, I'm intrigued as hell. I don't know anything about this movie. I just know the synopsis, like based on the what's written on Letterboxd, and like I did read your review, and it said like it talked about like gentrification, martyrdom, and like stuff like that, and like for whatever reason, what popped in my head is like, oh, okay, so this is Joker meets Blind Spotting. I see. Okay. So
no,
it always comes back to Joker.
It always comes back to Joker. But like, okay, I mean, I'm really intrigued to see this movie sometime, and like, it seems like a Halloween like themed film. I mean, slasher film. Like,
it's
I'm
just
down
so
sometime.
underrated. Like, I don't know a single person who likes this movie as much as I do, and it's like when I was trying to figure out where it ranked, and like, because I have a list, like, I rank all the movies. I was trying to figure out where it ranked, and I just kept moving it up because I was just so like in love with the concepts of this movie, and how like legend can kind of somehow take like on a real meaning in real life, and how like stories have power. And much like another horror movie we talked about last week, which was Poltergeist. Candyman has magic. Like, it feels kind of magical at the end, but it never loses sight of its horror or psychological thriller aspects, which is really interesting because it's a nuanced. You don't see many nuanced slasher movies. Like, you're gonna find the fun ones, you're gonna find the dark ones, and you're gonna find the dumb ones. So it's fun to have a 4th category there.
Yeah, Jackson, you a Candyman fan?
Yeah, I saw this movie the first time a couple years ago. I mean, I like it. It's been a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely weird to see a horror movie that deals with big issues about race,
right?
As much as this one does, and like you said, how legends can come to life and everything. It's just it's a very cool idea that just got compounded with a bunch of other really, really awesome ideas. And it Ethan that said that like the slasher aspects kind of took away from it. Yeah, I can definitely see why you would say that. It didn't take it away from it from me, because I'm an idiot who likes to see people die in movies. But I can definitely see why you'd say that, because there is so much that this movie is saying, and that's definitely not something you'd see every day. I agree that it's underrated.
All right. Okay.
I agree.
All right, Chris, let's go into your last one.
Sorry, I muted my mic. So I think this is gonna be a fun one. This is one of those movies I think that's kind of mixed in with like contemporary slasher, like the contemporary slasher franchises, but among them, it's kind of a weird one because technically, even though like, okay, yeah, this film doesn't have like an actual like guy holding a knife killer.
It's a
This
girl.
killer,
Right.
no, it's a girl. Oh,
Wow.
wow!
And she's holding a spoon. Whoa.
But this is like, okay. We actually talked about another film in this franchise in our episode with Sellers. It is the third. We talked about the third entry in the franchise. It's a 2004 film directed by James Wan. It's Saw. Now,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
so it is very much in the spirit of the slasher genre. It just lose the guy holding a knife or whatever, and you pretty much have the same thing. And in a way, it's pretty much the same thing because he is still, terrorizing these people just in a very different way, or even in a more horrifying way if that's your kind of fear. And like, wow, this movie's terrifying from like everything from its its twists and turns and like the gore. To this day, this is still some of the most like explicit, terrifyingly edited gore I've ever seen in my life, and like it's just so obtrusive. Like I can barely make it through one of these movies without having to look away for a minute, just because like it's so gory and so like, just because when these sequences are happening, you feel as though you are in that situation with them. And like, when they're doing these horrifying things to their bodies, you can feel every bit of like, flesh tearing as though it's on yourself. And like, it's just so engaging, but also so disturbing. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Ethan, you saw this movie with us like a year ago now.
Right. Yeah. I was going through him, and James Wan, man, he is like, if there's one word I could use for his movies, like, this is not like this bad thing or it's not a good thing. It's just exhausting. He's an intense director in terms of like the imagery that he puts in. Like, I mean, the Saw is a stimulus overload in terms of like the weird slow motion 360 cameras and everything like that, like, and the intense sharp like lighting, and then the only other James Wan film I've seen is Aquaman, and that one's just like visual overload with like sharks and dolphins and shit, But Saw, that's it. Like that, the first act of this film is like, it's a short film in of its own. Wasn't it originally a short film or something like that? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
it started as
it
like
was
a short film and then they developed into a feature.
Because you can tell that like it was just like two people in a room and they're just trying to figure the shit out, And
It's too green.
It's too green.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. It is too green. Like, I don't know, but like, I don't think the cinematography in this film really struck with me that much. But like, I love that this kind of stuff exists, and I know it has an audience. So yeah, what do you think, Jackson?
I like it. Saw is very, very gory, and like I said, I like to see people die in movies because there's something wrong with me. Yes, probably. And there's in the Saw franchise, there's a lot of people dying in really interesting and horrible ways. And not so much in the first one. But the first one's it's weird because, I mean, when you think of Saw, you're like, oh, that's the torture porn movies. This one is relatively tame in comparison to all the other Saw movies because it was, I think it was lower budget. Like you guys said, it was like a short film that got turned into a long movie. And it's neat to see what they were able to do. And it's still, I don't know. I was never a huge Saw guy, but I've seen them, and they are good. I think that it's just funny to see the Jigsaw killer be a dude that's like he's like, oh, I don't kill anybody, they kill themselves. I think that's one of the funniest parts about Saw to me.
Yeah.
One thing I really admire about the Saw like franchise is like, as Ethan, you talked about this briefly earlier, like how oftentimes with these slasher films, one of the characteristics of the franchise is that the victims of these killings and whatnot are often like the social outcasts, or like, you know, the worst parts of society, like people that exhibit those at least at the time. And like you know, Saw does that, but in an interesting way, in the sense that like in this kind of setting, the Jigsaw killer is the judge, jury, and executioner for people that have either like misused their power or have what's the word, like not taken their life with gratitude. And you know, that's the big final line of this movie is, you know, people are so ungrateful. Are you done? People are so ungrateful to be alive. Game over. Yeah, and like, you know,
game over.
That's a haunting like thought, to be like, wow, like I just like the worst people are often the ones who are punished in this franchise. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting concept. I mean, Brandon, you gave this movie 4.5. Like, what do you think of it?
I love it.
Okay.
No, I love Saw. The first Saw movie is amazing. I'm not as big of a fan of the sequels. Like, I like 3. I think it's a really disgusting, good slasher, good kills, you know. It's a slasher in a non-traditional sense because there is no killer, but he does set up these traps, which I guess would constitute just a fucked up serial killer slasher, so I guess it counts. But yeah, I think the best part about Saw is how it plays with that moral ambiguity. You know, genuinely, like, you get to know the people involved as they're going through this torture and shit in all of the movies. And you're like, well, like, I don't really see why he would want to do it. But as this, like, guy who's a moral retributionist who's taking it out on people, he's sending a message. It's like Joker, you know.
It's not about the traps. It's about sending a message.
It is kind of. It's about what he's saying and like sending a message to people. And it's kind of like too good to be true in that sense. Like, if it really happened, like, a serial killer would just kill for masochistic reasons because he likes to see people, you know, be in pain. But like for Jigsaw, it seems like he's like literally doing it to say like, stop being assholes, human beings. And in that case, he's kind of an anti-hero. I love the first one just because like I like the characters, the energy is all weird. I don't like the cinematography in it. I get that's because it's really low budget and they were going for this really sterile, gross look. But to me, it looks really, really cheap and kind of takes me out of the movie. But if the movie only took place in the one room, I think I would love it even more than I already did. Because everything that takes place between Cary Elwes and Leigh Whannell in that movie, and Tobin Bell in the center of the room, is amazing. So yeah, love the movie.
All right, sick. All right, I'll quickly go through my last piece here because we're running a little long here. But my final film is a 2000 film, and I like that Brandon brought up the sort of like blending of like the slasher genre with a social commentary with Candyman, where I said like this, I think the slasher elements take away from it, but in this film I think it like further emphasizes it. This is directed by Mary Harron. It's Christian Bale starring in American Psycho. Man, like I know Brandon's not really a fan of this film, but talk about like, you can like, this is a crazy film where you can tell it's directed by a female and it has like a really feminist theme by like pointing out the absolute worst in sort of like a patriarchal society, you know, where it uses slasher elements to discuss this like corporate narrative about how like people literally kill each other to get on top, you know, and using the character of Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale, to do this is just like, he is an American Psycho, believe it or not. Hey, that was so surprising when I watched this film and I learned that. But like, it's got such good scenes, like the Huey Lewis in the News scene with Jared Leto. It's iconic. The card scene is my favorite one. Not just because they made the Pokemon card like parody of it. That one's hilarious, but it's just like the tension in the scene. It's like it's equally entertaining and thought provoking. And it's just like, yeah, I love this movie. It's such a fun time. Jackson, I know in our group chats we used to put a lot of American Psycho memes in it. So what do you think about the movie?
I like American Psycho, just because of how weird it is. I like really weird movies, and this is a really weird movie. To the point where you can draw your own conclusions about if he even really killed anyone.
Oh yeah.
And you can back it up with things from the movie. There's so much. I guess it's the movie having a lot to say, and you can take it so many different ways. It's just, I mean, and it's a classic too. Everybody knows about it. It's really, I really like this movie. It's one I never even would have thought of when I think of slashers, but I think it definitely belongs.
Hell yeah.
I really like this movie. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Brandon, let's hear your piece.
Movie.
Yes, the movie.
I think the script is fine.
That's it?
I really don't have much to say. Like, Christian Bale has a good role. It's not scary. I don't really find it that thought-provoking, to be honest. Maybe you could explain.
I mean, I don't know, not thought-provoking. I found it thought-provoking that in the sense that, like, they took this really, like, evident thing that people are feeling about corporations and stuff like that, and, like, moving up the social ladder and everything like that, and blending it with the slasher genre. I'm like, I would have never thought about that. And that's, like, that's what made it thought-provoking to me.
They personified it, really.
I feel like I've seen it better done somewhere else, but I can't name what that somewhere else is.
So it hasn't done. So you're stupid.
Then you're wrong.
So you're wrong.
You're just wrong.
You're really wrong. Yeah, you kind of are wrong. Sorry.
Yep. Sounds to me like you're wrong.
Yeah, kind of.
Just yeeted my mic.
Yeah. Chris, have you seen American Psycho?
Yeah, I have. Man, I don't even, like, kind of in a similar boat to Brand. I don't really know much what to say, but not in a bad way. I think, like, you guys kind of, like, talked about how, you know, like, it's a film that does a good job in a similar way, I suppose, to Saw, in the sense that it shows the worst parts of, you know, like, this very corporate place, you know, through this lens, and it's almost like feminist lens. And I think, like, Christian Bale delivers an amazing performance. The Huey Lewis and the News scene is fantastic. Like, I can watch that, like, every day, and it's still so much fun.
Hey, Paul.
That's the best scene in the movie.
It is the best scene in the movie. Yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I mean, like, Bale gives an amazing performance, and, like, I don't know, it's just like this kind of, like, tends to slip under the radar with me. Like, it's a movie I think everyone knows and almost talks about, but it's one of the ones that I'm always just kind of like, yeah, all right, it's good. And, like,
yeah.
I don't know if there's much else for me to say. I mean, like, it's fun. I don't know.
It's good. it's good. A fun time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's all of our picks. So before we go down and try to figure out which 3 of these 11 films, because there was a double stack, are going to go into our final stack. Let's just run down each of our picks, and yeah, we'll get to decide what it's going to be. So Jackson, do you want to start us out with just listing your 3 movies?
Yes. I had Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, I had Strangers, and I had Halloween.
Okay. Brandon?
Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Dream Master, Scream, and Candyman.
Christopher?
I had Psycho, Scream, and Saw.
Okay. And I had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood Diner, and American Psycho. All right. So, does anybody have any pitches? So we know Scream, since it was a double stack, it was picked twice. That's definitely on the list. Yeah. I would say, we got a lot of good picks. I'd say we definitely need a Nightmare on Elm Street movie on this list.
Yeah.
Just because I think that proved very popular in the group. I would say I would want one of the original like first slasher movies. We can pick from Halloween, Psycho, or Texas Chainsaw. Those are some of the earlier ones. You know, we have a later one with Scream that sort of reflects back, which I think would be a good way to end this stack. Right. Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking.
We could enter in an 80s one, and then we'll have like a 70s/60s one.
Here's mine.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I'm going to go Texas Chainsaw first, because I recognize that as the first slasher movie.
Okay.
Chris.
Would you? It's okay, but like you wouldn't at all budge for Psycho.
No. No question.
And the rest of the room.
End of the road for that.
And then in the rest of the room. Hold on, rest of the room. Ethan, what do you think about Psycho possibly making to represent 60s and 70s?
I would rather have Texas Chainsaw, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
But I do like Psycho.
Yeah, I'd rather have Texas Chainsaw.
And then I think Nightmare on Elm Street 3, because that represents the original trilogy that everybody sort of likes, even though 2 has nothing to do with 1 or 3. Yeah. So
and it also like I haven't seen it, but it sounds like it captures like all the craziness that happens in like 80s slashers, you know, that people want to watch when they're watching a slasher.
And then obviously Scream, because it's a double bone.
That movie's definitely great.
And Scream last because it's so like postmodern, kind of ironic, but also has like the feel of like a nightmare, even because it was directed by Craven and he does tone mixing really well.
Yep. I'm on board with that list. I think Texas, Nightmare 3, and then Scream. And I'll throw honorable mentions to Blood Diner and Saw.
Yes. Check those out.
Yeah. But then I think those 3 are solid.
Okay. Jackson, do you approve of this list? This 3 film?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I will be watching all 3 of those at some point this October, so I can't really disagree with that list.
Hell yeah. All right. Well then, let's run down Stack's official slasher movie quintessential 3 film stack, starting with Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the early slashers that really like a real trendsetter here, where the age of this film only makes it better, and the kills are disgusting. It's a twisted movie that shows a really dark yet grounded side of the American Midwest, you know, and yeah, Southwest, because Texas. That's right.
Texas.
and it's one of the pure horrific slashers in my opinion, and in Jackson's opinion, but not Brandon's opinion, because he's not afraid of anything, because he's a brave little boy.
I'm not
and
little.
Chris's opinion. Yeah, whatever, little boy, tiny 1-inch man. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw.
You're literally like 4'3".
Literally 4'3".
I'm 6'4".
No, literally, you're literally like 2'5".
Yeah,
are you
I'm
really?
Slender Man.
He is. He's kind of a Waluigi.
Dude, nice, me too.
Brandon looks like a piece of string cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stand up.
Oh damn! All right, we're having the tall boys. Holy shit, Chris and I. Here I am, 5'8" over here, just like.
You would be 5'8", you motherfucker.
What? What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know.
That's what Sam said on Twitter the other day. He's like, Ethan acts like he's 7'4", but in reality he's probably 5'4", and I'm like, fuck you.
Dude, I know this is like derailing, but that picture of you like looking up, like from like the point of view, is one of the funniest. I love that picture.
I love it so much. Yeah, thank you.
You look so fucking stupid. It's great.
That was the goal.
Also, another thing. Every single picture I've seen of you, you've looked a little bit different, and I still don't really know what you look.
You're looking at me right now.
But I swear to God, the next time I see you, you'll look totally different. You'll look totally different.
That just
I've seen like 40 pictures of you, and you've never consistently.
I do in the mornings usually just mold my face to be like to have some sort of different feature.
You're like a skinwalker.
Exactly.
Can we throw up like 5 pictures of Ethan on the screen right now and just see if anyone else thinks like he looks different in every one?
I do.
No, like okay, like you, like specifically the pictures I'm thinking of was like that old picture of you with that Donkey Kong outfit, the picture of you in that suit that you took on Twitter that was like, oh, I have to record something, and then you right now are like 3 totally different people. Like
3 different personalities too. Actually, I have. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get back to the stack. Okay, Jackson, do a little short summary of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Of why it's quintessential.
3. It's quintessential because obviously Nightmare on Elm Street is iconic. It's a staple of the franchise or of the genre. Sorry, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is like the perfect balance of still being a scary movie and leaning into the silliness of the idea of a man that comes and kills you in your dreams, and you can pull him into the real world because it's a silly idea. And it's a great blend of these two very tonally different things. And I love it. It's incredible. And there's no better Nightmare on Elm Street movie than Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
All right. And Chris, do you want to take us into our last film?
Yep. So our...
What? Sorry, buddy. You double stacked. And I'm kicking you out.
I'll leave you a little bit.
Okay. Rude.
What? I picked
it.
You're
being...
But I picked...
Yeah, whatever.
All right. So our final film is a 1996 film directed by Wes Craven. It is Scream, a film that flips the entire subgenre that is slasher films on its head. Does it in the most creative way through character, through the story, and through every little bit of its construction. A great, entertaining, feel-good, but still terrifying movie. Completely digestible, but totally fun all the way through. All
right. And there it is, everyone. That's the show. I'd like to thank our guest, Jackson, for coming on the show. This was such a fun episode, and we had great picks. Yes. And I'm really happy you came in and talked slasher movies with us, dude. Is there anything you want to plug for the other listeners at home?
Yes. I have a YouTube channel, TooMuchGravy. I also have a Twitch channel, which is TooMuchGravy, but instead of the word 2, it's the number 2. Because someone else took that.
Fucker.
And I'm on Twitter at TooMuchGravy. That's also the number 2 because someone else took that. And that's about all I have to plug.
Yeah, Jackson's streams are really fun.
I
played some Among Us with him on stream the other day. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's a blast. Just hop in there and just vibe while we play some games.
That was so much fun. I played so much Star Wars today.
Yeah,
I played like 5 hours of a Star Wars game in VR today.
Damn.
And my eyes are on fire.
That was me last night. I got super high and I played Mario Galaxy for 5 hours and the time just went by. I was like, what the hell am I doing? But yeah, that'll do it for us on Stacked, everyone. Make sure to listen to us, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, and we'll catch you next time with our next Halloween-athon topic, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.